Hello everybody and welcome back to Raw Gameplay. Jonny here, and today we're taking a look at Kerbal Space Program. I have a full playthrough on the channel and also a game review for it that will be linked at the end of the video. But it's been over a year since I played, and I thought I'd jump in and see if the game has changed at all, and also just show you the game because I think it's a very undervalued game for a lot of people. So we're gonna take a look at some of the stuff that you can do here and how the game plays. We are in sandbox mode, which means we have access to all of the parts, but they're all the vanilla parts, so you won't see any mods or anything that you don't have access to here. The only two mods that I have right now are the Kerbal Engineer something that gives you a little bit more information on the vessel, and the Void heads-up display, which again, just extra information that I like to have at hand. So we're gonna put together a simple rocket here. First thing we're gonna need is a heat shield, and we'll see what it takes to get into orbit. The first time you play the game, it might take you quite a while to actually manage to get into orbit, and it might take us a few attempts here, as I remember the right amount of thrust and fuel necessary. This game doesn't hold your hand, and it takes a special kind of person to enjoy it. Need to have sort of an analytical mind and enjoy problem solving quite a bit. The answers pretty much come out of trial and error, experimentation, and that sort of thing. So what we're gonna have here is our top stage with a liquid fuel tank, and we're gonna power it with one of these swivel engines that allow you to, well, swivel around and turn. And you can see here straight away we have some information. The thrust to weight ratio is something that's key. So if it's below 1, for example, that would mean that you have more weight than thrust, which is a terrible thing to have. Depending which stage it is, you need more thrust than others. Just to give you an example, this first stage that we're looking here, the idea of it is that it will come into play once we're out of the atmosphere, and therefore there's less resistance. Therefore, we need less thrust overall. So we can get away with something like a 3 thrust to weight ratio. That's, I think, fine. You can also see here the delta V. That's the total amount of acceleration, or if you want to think of it as effective distance that you're going to be able to cover. So we're going to need a first stage that's going to get us out of the atmosphere here, and we're going to go with a decoupler. Let's find a 1.25 meter decoupler here. That should be okay. And we're gonna need a solid fuel rocket booster. The idea with the solid fuel ones is that they provide a lot of thrust. Let's see if I can find them. They provide a lot of thrust, you can see right here. However, they have pretty poor efficiency, they don't last very long, so they're great for a big initial push to get you off the ground. But you can see here, this one will get us very little in terms of delta V. It won't give us too much. So I think for our case, we're gonna need a little bit more than that. And I'm not claiming this is gonna be the most efficient design, by the way. This is just something that will get the job done. So instead of having one solid rocket fuel booster, we're gonna have 4. How about that? A little overkill. So we're gonna roll like a quadrilateral symmetry here. Try to place them as low as we can. How about that? Let's find those hammers. We'll pop 4 of these bad boys, like so. Okay. Now that we also have a parachute at the top, so we need to make sure our control groups are correctly set up here. So the first thing will be the first stage that's gonna pop. Once we decouple that, we want to immediately activate our second stage. And we can see we have a problem here. We also need a decoupler here so that when we do the re-entry, we can decouple all of the empty fuel tanks. So this should be correct. The final decoupling there. Right. You always need to double check your control groups over here to make sure things are looking okay. We're gonna save this. We're gonna call it the first timer, of course. And the next thing we should think about is perhaps some aerodynamics. So why don't we roll like 4 winglets? The idea of the winglets is that they need to be below the center of mass. Let me show you here the center of mass. So right now it's a bit down because we have these solid fuel rocket boosters, but once we decouple these, the center of mass is gonna go up significantly. And you really want your wings at the bottom of the rocket. Now the reason we don't put them sort of here, down here, is because we're gonna quickly decouple these boosters, and we're only gonna start to swivel once the boosters are gone. So we don't really need the extra winglets in the first stage. That's the thinking behind it. We also have some nose cones, a little bit nipple-like. Okay, we're gonna go with that, and we're also gonna roll a structure stability enhancer. There you go. How about that? And we're gonna make sure that's the first thing that's gonna pop. And we can see now we have plenty of thrust in the first stage. We have a decent amount of delta V that's gonna get us out of the atmosphere, I believe. So we're gonna save and we're gonna launch here. This is gonna be our first attempt. Hopefully it works. And hopefully I remember the controls, because it's been a very long time since I played. So we're gonna set our throttle to maximum and the stability assist as well. 3, 2, 1, launch. Disaster, right? So something in our control groups, revert flight, something in our control groups was not set correctly. And this happens often in KSP. You think something is fine, but actually it's not. So you need to let go of the stabilizers at the same time as you power the actual rockets. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. So let's try that again. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. All right. So we're gonna burn these entirely, just going straight up. And once we burn those, we're gonna start to turn east a little bit. That's just gonna be a more efficient way to exit the atmosphere. It's what they call a gravity turn. So there we go, switch stages. And we can lower the throttle a little bit. Because it's a liquid fuel tank and a liquid fuel engine, we can actually control the throttle. Something that we can't actually do with the solid fuel tanks. Okay, so you can see right here, I've stopped all engines. That's because if we take a look at this, our apoapsis, which is the highest point in our orbit, is already high enough that's out of the atmosphere. And what we need to do now is extend it in a way that we're gonna produce a circular orbit around the planet, right? So how do we do that? The theoretical best way to do it would be to wait until you're at the top of your orbit, so the apoapse here, and then just align yourself with the horizon, so to speak, and burn all of your fuel immediately. That would be the most efficient way to do it. Of course, when it comes to reality, we can't burn all of our energy immediately. Instead, it takes some time to confer that acceleration. So what we're gonna do is wait until we're a little bit closer to apoapsis here. We can speed up time. Was it? I think the dot speeds up time. Yeah, that's right. Muscle memory coming through there. We're gonna wait until we're a little bit before the apoapse. We're gonna align ourselves with the horizon line here. The blue stuff would be outward of the planet and the red stuff would be inward. We can demonstrate this after the maneuver here. So we're gonna immediately burn and watch as our orbit circularizes. We also have some information here. The periapsis is the lowest point of your orbit, and right now it's negative because it's colliding with the planet. And because our burn wasn't super efficient, you can see we're past the apoapsis now. Ideally, that would not be the case. So it will take us more fuel to circularize our orbit, and the apoapse will increase. So it won't be a perfect circular orbit. And we might even run out of fuel before we actually have a circular orbit. Let's take a look. Nope. We are in orbit. So, pretty circular. It's actually not bad for a first attempt. So if we look at this, the apoapse, 140,000 meters, and the lowest point in our orbit is 65,000, which is already outside of the atmosphere. I believe 60,000 meters is the limit of the atmosphere. So this is our first orbital flight. The only problem here is that we have no fuel left. So we wouldn't be able to decay our orbit and re-enter the atmosphere. So Jebediah will be stuck here for a very, very long time. But of course we can already get rid of that, and that's our capsule. So one cool thing you can do here is you can actually EVA with your Kerbals. Now I'm not gonna let go of the capsule because I don't remember the controls to like spacewalk correctly. We would probably end up losing we'll probably end up losing Jebediah in space forever. So we're gonna board again here. But that's sort of the idea of getting into orbit. Now, if you were to ask me how can we go further, the idea is that getting into orbit will always be your first step. Doesn't matter if you're going to the moon or Mars, you're always gonna produce a circular orbit first as a first step. So if you're new to the game, it will take you a while just to be able to, you know, get a circular orbit like this probably. But that's gonna be the first step in your mission towards greatness. So once you're able to do this, the universe is your oyster, pretty much. There's a whole lot of stuff that we can look at. But for now, let's just take a look at some basics in the nav ball here. So, as I said, if you look at how our ship is pointing, right now we're pointing completely outward from the planet. That is the top of the blue portion of the nav ball. And the opposite is looking inward. So that's how you need to think about it when you look at the nav ball. And the camera view is very deceiving at times. So you need to rely on the nav ball a lot in this game. So why don't we try to build something a little bit bigger? Now, this is gonna be the stuff that's gonna get us from orbit to the moon. Now we still need all of the stuff that will get us into orbit, which is a lot. So let's take a look at how we're gonna do that. Make sure our groups are correctly set up here. Okay. So we're gonna have like a slightly bigger fuel tank. And so we might start with this, and then we'll do something pretty cool that I'll show you in a moment. Let's just go with this original design, right? I think this is fine, but if you look at it, We only have 1500 delta V out of this. So how can we get more delta V? Because of course the problem is, you understand, if we just add more tanks, the more fuel you burn, first it would add a lot of weight, but also it gets to a point that when you empty the tanks, you then have just a dead weight in the tanks, because they have no fuel, they provide no energy, they're just weight. So you need to make sure you get rid of the tanks when they're empty. So one way we can do that is set up something like this. So we're gonna do a dual setup to start with a couple extra tanks. Oh, there you go. And I'll explain to you in a moment my thinking here. So, what's the idea? The idea is that we don't need more than just this engine down here, but we need more fuel, or we would like more fuel. So, one of the solutions that are available to us is that we can have external tanks like this, and then plug them into the one in the center. And what this will do is that this guy's fuel is actually gonna flow from here to here. And instead of emptying all of the tanks at the same time, the ones in the outside will actually empty first. And once they're empty, we'll eject them, essentially killing off a lot of dead weight in the process. So, very powerful. And we'll see how that works in practice. I do think we're gonna add some fuel here. Sorry, some engines. We're not using the swivel because we don't really need to swivel that much, and the Reliant has a bit more of a punch, I think. So we're gonna have something like this with the little cones. We can save the design for now. And we should be able to copy. So if you press Alt, it will let you copy that block. Hopefully we placed it semi-accurately. And the only thing we need to correct is these connectors. And we'll see why in a moment. So what we're doing now is connecting the new tanks to the tanks that we placed initially. Hold on, that didn't work. Okay. So here's what happens. We have two very external tanks, which are the new ones we added. These are going to empty out first. Their fuel is going to flow into this intermediary pair of tanks, which then in turn will empty out and be ejected and leave us with only the one in the center. So let's make sure we're grouping all of our stuff over here. We're gonna launch just this and see how it works, and if we need to, we'll add some more boosters in the bottom to push us. But let's just take a look at how this behaves. Just to start with, try to get some wings down here. And if we can, also in the main rocket, that would be fantastic. So let's see how it works in practice, perhaps. It will be a little bit clearer to you. But you can see there's a lot of depth in the game, and we're just skimming the surface here. There's a ton of stuff. Docking, you can dock vessels into other vessels. You can create space stations like that, just piece by piece. There's just a ton of stuff to do here. Alright, so 3, 2, 1, let's not go. Okay. Revert flight. Again, it seems like it changed the order of things here. Yep, I think it did. Anyways, straight away, Let's launch. It's completely unstable, right? It's very unstable. I think I know what the reason is. But we don't have to go into it. Let's see if we can make it work. You can see here 2 of the fuel tanks are about to expire. As soon as they do, we eject them. And now you can actually see the fuel levels. The fuel level of the one in the middle is untouched because it's getting fuel from the ones in the outside. Alright, so I've made some corrections here. We got some stabilizers that are gonna keep things a little bit more stable. We got our winglets further down, and we have an additional solid fuel booster stage that's gonna push us a little bit off the ground, get us a little bit more momentum. Let's see how that works out for us. So we're gonna try it immediately. Okay, throttle at maximum, stability assist activated. 3, 2, 1, launch. Looks like we touched the state, like the something in the structure there, and that's why we're tilting around, but we're pretty stable. And these are gonna run out very soon, right? You can see that. We're gonna go into our main asparagus staging. Here we go, straight away. Now we would like to point ourselves to 90 degrees a little bit if we can. And we're gonna keep an eye on the fuel levels. As soon as these run out, we're gonna pop them. External fuel tanks are popped. And we can kill it now. Same deal. Wait until closer to apoapse, and then we'll try to circularize. Hopefully we'll do a better job, and we'll start burning a little bit earlier this time, because we're always doing so past apoapses, which is not a good look for us. So align yourself with the prograde vector, which indicates that's that thing over there. That indicates your actual direction that you're moving in. Set ourselves up on the horizon and burn. So you can see we're about to have an orbit around the planet. Periapse is going positive. And cut throttle. Alright, so you have an orbit. Now, how do you actually go to the moon? Well, one thing to consider is that your orbit might be in a slight inclination with respect to the orbit of the moon. So that would make things, more difficult. So the game gives you some utilities to simplify that. You can set the moon as a target, and that will show you the slight differences that you have right now. The way to compensate for that is you would go to either the descending or ascending node, and you would create a maneuver, right? Because it's the descending node, we are going to want to burn normal, which is upward in this case. And you can see the descending node is now closer to 0 degrees. Now that means our orbit is going to be closer to that of the moon's in terms of its angle, like its inclination, if you want to think of it that way. So now we just have to execute this. We're going to warp a little closer. And the game doesn't do the maneuver for you, it just helps you plan it. So you need to make sure that you're facing the actual maneuver. In this case, you can see the indicator there. Oop. Okay. We're almost on top of the maneuver there. You can see it's basically the normal direction, and we're going to burn softly here. And as we do, you'll see this meter goes down. That's the maneuver meter. That's the amount of delta V that will take us, of acceleration that it will take us to actually execute that. So we've already had to ditch that fuel stage. We'll see how long this lasts us. And you want to stay on the maneuver node here. And that should have done it. So if we look at our descending nodes now, it's quite close to 0. It's gonna make us way more, you know, it will make it easier for us to encounter the moon. So now all we gotta do is look at our orbit and say, this is our lowest point, this is our highest point. We need to make our highest point go far enough to be within the range of the moon's orbit. So the most effective way to do it is to go to the lowest point in the orbit and then burn in the direction of your movement, that is prograde. And you can see here the planar tool shows you that your apoapsis, the highest point in your orbit, is going to just extend and extend, and at some point it will come close to the moon. Now we need to find a point where us being in this range will also happen when the moon is close. So one thing we can do is move the entire maneuver node until, oh, we have something. So right here, this is pretty good. If we go like this, you can see here that our periapsis with respect to the moon will be 377 meters, which is a little bit far, but it's not bad, right? So we can execute this just like this, but we can also tweak stuff a little bit and get even closer. For now, we're gonna keep it simple and we're just gonna execute this maneuver. So this is now confirmed. Let's just warp closer and we'll try to execute that maneuver the best we can. Where is the... oh, there you go, okay. Lost track of it. Let's warp a little closer, shall we? So, you can see the arrow indicates the direction of the maneuver. That's the marker that we want to face. And you can see it's going to take us 810 delta V to perform that maneuver. So hopefully we have enough. And we should probably start burning now. Alright, so we're close to finishing our maneuver here. Make sure we can cut throttle in time. And if we look at our current situation right now, sometimes it's a little tricky to see. But there you go. We have a periapsis of 331, which is not bad. So now we could just let time pass, and we'll get there eventually. We don't need to actually do any further acceleration at the moment. Let's take us back to the map, and we'll warp until encounter. And we can see the moon grow ever closer to us. Alright, if we take a look at the map, we can actually speed up a little bit. There will come a time when we'll enter the sphere of influence of the moon. Speed things up a little bit. And the way the game works is it only considers one object. So right now it's not considering Earth's influence over us in terms of gravity. We're sort of caught in the moon's gravity well, so to speak. And the way we would go about it, if we wanted to land on the moon, we would decay, we would get to the lowest point in our orbit with respect to the moon, which is this point here. Let's just warp there, for example. And we want to decay our orbit, which is the opposite of what we did earlier. We want to decay it so that the apoapsis reduces until we have a circular orbit around the moon. So if we point retrograde, which is the opposite direction of our movement right now, and we just burn a little bit, you can see here our trajectory is just curving back, and at some point it will actually be a circular trajectory around the moon. Just a little more. Okay, so we're already in orbit around the moon. Now if we wanted to land on the moon, first we would need landing gear, which we don't have currently. But secondly, we would use this same sort of thinking. We would go now to the opposite side, which is the highest one, and we would burn contrary to our movement. That would cause our lowest point to decay towards the planet, or towards the moon, and we would collide with it eventually. So that's the way we would go about it. But right now, that's not really an option for us. We don't have landing gear, and we have very little fuel left. So how can we take Jeb home right now? Well, one thing we can do is just expand our apoapsis until the point that it's outside of the sphere of influence of the moon. So if we take a look here, and we point ourselves prograde in this case, because remember, we want to increase our apoapsis, so we point prograde. We're gonna burn a little bit of fuel here. And we can cut that. So at some point we'll exit the moon's sphere of influence. And take a close look here and say goodbye to our friend the moon. So let's speed things up. So the moon moves away. At some point, the Earth is going to be the main body in terms of gravitational effect over us. Okay, so if we stop it right here, our orbit, as you can see, is just like a gigantic orbit around our planet Earth. So what we want to do is just decay our periapsis enough so that it will come into contact with the Earth's atmosphere. Now, as I've told you, the best way to do that is to go to the opposite point of your orbit, and we're gonna do that just now, and burn. Now, it's gonna take us 21 days to get there. Again, it's a big orbit, but this is the most fuel efficient way to do it. To just burn on the opposite side instead of just burning anywhere. And because we have sort of limited fuel, even though we have plenty to come back, we want to be as efficient as we can. And okay, let's cut it. Now, we're gonna look retrograde. And we're gonna start burning. I don't think we can do it in this view. Remember, 60 kilometers is when the atmosphere starts. But we don't want the angle of entry to be too steep. Otherwise, we're gonna burn in the atmosphere. So we need to be a little bit careful. Okay, so we need to make sure our periapse is adequate. The best way I like to do it is to focus your view by double-clicking the planet you're focusing on. You can see it way better right now. If we bring up our nav ball and we look retrograde, we can burn a little bit to make sure our entry point is low enough that we're gonna get captured by the planet. Now 38,000 meters is not the safest choice. You wanna have not a very steep angle when you enter, otherwise you might burn out in the atmosphere. But we're gonna YOLO it a little bit, because what can happen as well is if your angle is not steep enough, then you won't be captured by the planet and you'll have to go around the orbit all the way again until you eventually re-enter. So we're gonna try this and hope for the best. There's also, you know, when it comes to real scenarios, if you really have to go around the orbit a second time to re-enter safely, that could be a matter of 30 days, right? And you may not have the sustenance in your spacecraft to do that. So at this point, our periapsis is already set. We're not gonna do anything further. Let's just ditch our fuel tank there, and we're gonna speed up time. Time warp is immediately gonna stop once we reach the atmosphere. And you gotta be a bit careful with time warp while going into the atmosphere, because the physics can get screwed up sometimes. So taking a look at our orbit, it is quickly decaying, right? So you can see our apoapsis is ever so quickly going down. And that's the beauty of this design, because we have our bottom, our ass to the fire here, quite literally. And what that causes is, because of this design, what that causes is that the ship is actually quite stable in this position. It would take a lot for you to sort of tumble it over, because air is pushing equally on all points of this surface. And it's just a very stable aerodynamical surface when it comes to re-entry. So that's why it's actually quite safe. Now that's not to say you can't die. That you can easily die on re-entry if your angle is too steep, right? If your periapsis is too low, that can definitely be a death for you. But hopefully for us here, it's gonna work out. Apoapsis still going down. And even though it might seem like we're gonna go past the lowest point in our orbit and sort of continue orbiting around, because we're under the effects of the atmosphere, we're gonna continue to decelerate, continue to decay our apoapsis until the apoapsis is actually our periapsis. And at that point, we're gonna start to go negative, meaning we're gonna go into the planet. You can see our periapsis is now going towards 0 or negative. That means we're gonna impact on the planet. It's just a very long haul. So this game, you need a lot of patience as well, because some of these maneuvers just take a long time, man. Now that's a nice view though, the moon coming up like that. Sadly, we're on the dark side or against the sun, so not much to see of the planet itself, but we can probably risk a little bit faster here. of a speed. You can see things get a little unstable when you speed up. Alright, so we're gonna time-lapse this shit and I'll meet you once we're landed. And touchdown. Jab is safe and back home. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you did. And as always, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.